Hello, everyone. Well, there is no everyone. I just started and no one knows I'm going live, so I'm saying hello to no one right now. But hopefully, the word will get out and maybe some people will pop over because I am doing a surprise live sale. Now, well, no, it's not a live sale, it's a live haul. So I am still traveling, I'm still in my wonderful hotel room, and I have picked up so many items during this trip. There's no way I'm going to be able to get all of my videos out and edited and everything before I actually start selling everything. And I want to start selling. I'm going to have a live sale in 2 nights. So Thursday night, I'm going to go back to my regular Thursday night time slot, 8 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. And I am going to have a live sale on Thursday. But again, I'm picking up so many things that I'm not going to be able to get the videos out. I just posted a video tonight. Hey, Yvonne. I just posted a video earlier this evening. I almost never do two things at once because I barely ever get any content out as it is. But I have a stack of stuff that I picked up and I just need to be able to kind of showcase it. So if people can't catch me live, it'll just turn into an unedited video showcasing what I have. And believe it or not, this is something I wore in public today. So I've never really talked about where I am. I just keep saying I'm traveling. And a couple people, if you follow me on Instagram, figured out that I'm in Colonial Williamsburg. Hey, Val. I am in Colonial Williamsburg. Well, I'm in Williamsburg specifically for their 75th annual Antiques Forum. I've never been to the Antiques Forum before. No specific reason I came on the 75th anniversary. It just happened to be the 75th anniversary. It just happened to be a year that I could actually do it. So I cleared my schedule, took vacation off from work, and drove from Chicago to Williamsburg, Virginia for this symposium. And I just took a couple days in the beginning and I'll take a couple days in the end. And I'm driving as I'm driving, I actually have something to haul everything with. So I stopped at a bunch of places. It took me 3 days to get to Williamsburg. It'll take me 3 days to get home. I just have a stack of stuff, and it happens to be mostly ephemera. Actually, I do have some non-ephemera, but I just realized I didn't grab it. So it's not anywhere near me. Oh, thanks, Yvonne. That's kind of you. And it's funny because so this was the 75th anniversary, and the 75th anniversary of the symposium. So that means the first symposium was in 1949. And so they asked us to dress like it was the 40s. Now, admittedly, when I got the email with all my registration documents, I did not see, and I didn't know that they did a big banquet thing at the very end as like a celebratory thing. Why would we be celebrating the 40s? It's Colonial Williamsburg. Am I supposed to dress as the 1740s? I don't know how to do that. And so it took me a while, but I figured out it was because the first symposium was in 1949. And I will say probably only about 10% of the people actually dressed up. But I got many compliments on my hat. And this is the same suit that I wore for Arsenic and Old Lace, which technically I think took place in the late 30s. So maybe a little bit off. And who's kidding? I'm pretty sure this is a double-breasted suit from the 80s. But I think the tie might be kind of true to vintage. And so, yeah, so I actually dressed up. So it was fun. I have met some great people and learned so much. It was basically 5 days of presentations, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I got to see a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. It was fantastic. It's really motivated me to do more in my reselling and actually kind of refine what I'm doing. So I have started migrating a little bit into ephemera, primarily because it's easy to ship. And so I have everything I'm going to show tonight is actually ephemera. If you caught the video that I dropped earlier this evening, I had picked up a package right before I left town. I dropped some stuff off at the post office and I checked my box and I actually had a package, and it was from France where I had purchased a ton of, and it ended up being some fantastic ephemera. And so I thought I'd show this because this I picked up completely unrelated to that. It was part of a paper lot that I picked up, and it's also in French. So it's another document. It is from 1921, and I have no idea what it is. École Communicale, École, I think, is school. So it's some sort of a school award or graduation certificate. I'm not sure. Hey, Claudia, thank you. So I figured I was going to record another video and just showcase some of it just to get it out. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm already dressed up. I don't really do this other than for theater. Hey, Tim, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Yeah, so it's just a kind of a spontaneous live haul, and it's solely out of necessity. I have stacks of stuff that I'm going to show tonight, and I am going to end up having a live sale on Thursday. So I'm going to go back to my live sale. I'll still be traveling, so I'll be doing it from another hotel room. But I looked at the weather, and actually the weather is supposed to be really bad again, closer to Chicago. So I am going to do the southern route. So I went ahead and picked my hotels. So I can't remember where I'm going to be Thursday night, but I'm going to be in a hotel. So I will do a live sale. So some of the stuff I'm going to show tonight will be in that sale, include possibly this. I need to research this because my Google Translate, no one has watched the French video enough yet to actually give me any help translating. So maybe on my own for the Google Translate, but some cool stuff in the video that dropped earlier this evening. That was just a whole video of the French stuff. That video took me forever to both record and to edit because it had so many translations and all the other stuff. And I just can't keep doing that. I'm buying more than I'm selling, and I need to flip that around. So I just actually just discovered something new. If anyone's seen this before, I'd be curious. I literally tripped on it today. There's a new hashtag on Instagram called 90 seconds. 90 seconds of vintage, I think it's what it's called. It's a hashtag, not a group. And it was founded, I'm like looking it up really quick because I hadn't thought I was going to talk about it. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But it is a hashtag where literally it is people doing 90-second long videos on Instagram selling stuff. And I'm kind of thinking, you know what? I might want to try that and see if I can crank through some things faster. So feels means girls. So I assume it came from a girls' school. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Good eye, too, because I don't think I held it up very, very closely or very still. So something's a satisfaction. So some sort of certificate of satisfaction that went to Noelle Andrea. But you can see it's dated 1921. So like I said, I've been leaning more into ephemera. One, because it's fun. And I talked about this in some other videos, maybe in one of my live sales. Anytime I do stuff in ephemera, I get comments about the cool ephemera that I find. And it's really because I dig deep. I will go digging in boxes, particularly I can just find boxes of old papers and I can just find some cool stuff. And a lot of people, it's not always high value stuff. So a lot of people skip over it. And I just find some really cool things or weird things. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to sell these. I don't know what I'm going to sell these for, but I have a set of, well, not a set, but I have multiples. 1, 2, 3. I have 5 buckwheat, wheat and corn flour bags. So they've got the gusseted bottom, 5 pounds. So almost 5 pounds of flour. I don't know. I think this would look kind of cool in an old kitchen. I don't think you'd want to put flour in it, but I picked them up pretty cheap. And I don't know. This might be a $5 ephemera sale. I'll look to see what they normally sell for it. It might be a $10 item. After I bought it, I felt I probably shouldn't have bought it. It was just different. But I don't know how to ship it because it's kind of big and I don't want to bend it. Hey, Jeannie. Oh, thank you. I mentioned I probably should put it on a banner or something. So I'm actually not. I will always want to dress up for everyone who's showing up, particularly for this like spontaneous sale or a spontaneous live video. It's not a sale, but I'm doing it because I was dressed up earlier for an event. We were supposed to dress like it was 1949. I don't know if I hit 1949, but I did try and hit the 40s and I got a lot of compliments on my hat. So thank you very much. So anyway, so like little things like that. I don't know how I'm going to ship that, but it's hey, Scott. I don't know how I'm going to ship that one. Let's see. Scott's in Pennsylvania. So he probably comes across these. He might know this is, I don't even know where Duncansville, Pennsylvania is. The buckwheat, wheat and corn flour, in Duncansville, PA. So self-rising buckwheat flour. I just think they're kind of cool. And they're new old stock. Like they're not used. I've got multiples of them. So I thought that was fun. I mentioned, I think in the video that I dropped earlier tonight, the one with all the French stuff, that I've started also getting into specifically menus. Now I collect menus on my own. But the menus I collect are very specific right now. It's all Sam's Fault from Dining at Sea. They're all cruise ship menus, and I'm trying to focus on cruise ship menus from prior to World War II. But because I keep looking for menus, I was coming across other menus, and then I was like, well, these are actually kind of cool. And so if I can get them up at a good enough price, I will pick them up. And so these are in rough condition, but I thought they were kind of cool. So I don't know what NGI stands for. I can't remember if it said inside. It is a ship. It is from the SS Colombo. So NGI must be the cruise ship line, I'm assuming. It is from 1926. So the 9th of September, 1926. It's in really rough shape. Now, this one I will probably keep in my own collection because it is a cruise ship menu, and it's prior to World War II. So that one I'll probably keep. But this was in the same location. It is Tale o' the Pup. It's a souvenir menu from Branchville, New Jersey. And I do not know why Branch suddenly made me sound Southern. I guess because I'm in Virginia. So Tale of the Pup drive-ins, one's in Sarasota, Florida, and the other one is in Branchville, New Jersey. It has what kind of looks like Pluto. Not sure that's allowed. So it kind of looks like it's do you think that looks like Pluto? I do. So it's got Pluto on the outside, and then it's a 3-fold menu. It says right on there's a souvenir menu, but it's got all of the menu items in there. So the graphics, it'd be if you display it folded up. The Tale of the Pup is what's going to sell this one. Jeannie agrees. It looks totally like Pluto. So hopefully, this one is not dated, but let's see what things cost. I'm going to see what we can guess. So a Tale of the Pup, a pedigreed hot dog. Okay, that's actually disturbing. A pedigreed hot dog on a bun with mustard relish and onion was 20 cents. So when could you get a hot dog for 20 cents? A ham steak was $1.50. Oh, filet mignon at the Tale o' the Pup restaurant. Filet mignon was 85 cents. So we've got some age on this. It's got a phone number on there. It's only a 5-digit phone number, so I can do a little bit of research to figure out when 5-digit phone numbers went out of vogue. But so I picked up a couple menus, like I said. So the one's a cruise ship menu. I will keep this one. I will end up selling. I had drifted into something that I've never sold before. Now I do have an antique booth, so some of these things might end up at the booth. I've got to do a little bit of research to see what they sell for. But this was a set of carte de visite CDVs. And what sold them, basically it's one of those cases you get instant relatives, that kind of fun stuff. They have the date, the information. Most of them have the information of who did the photography. Some of them have the names. So this would be kind of an interesting ancestry.com. But the reason I bought these was because look at the back. So they have the photograph on the front with the photographer's name, but then suddenly look at this fantastic set of graphics on the back. So this one happens to be from Dayton, Ohio. And this one, no, it has a copyright on it. And of course, I don't know where I put my cheaters. 1895. So all of these, or at least most of these, I think are going to be late 19th century. This one is of a dapper young man with his bowler hat. This one actually says who he is. Walter Noble, class of 1892. So we're in the late 19th century, and this one is out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So Lancaster, Pennsylvania that's where the photographer was. You're going to assume that the gentleman graduated somewhere near there. Wait, no. Oh, wait, no, I've got two of them together. I don't think I realized that they were stuck together. So that's the gentleman who's class of 1892. This other one, the guy with the bowler hat, is from Altoona, Pennsylvania. 8th Avenue, 9th Street. This one has a negative number, so you can get additional copies, but I don't see a year on that one. But, with the bowler, we're turn of the century again. We've got another one. This one is a couple. Also got the cool graphics on the back. This one actually is coming out of Iowa. 1886. Another gentleman with a different style hat. This is coming out of Canton, Ohio, and it actually has a date printed on it of 1887. Hey, Heather Elizabeth. Yes, I am in my huckster suit. I was actually just at a party where it was to dress as 1949, so that is why I decided to hop on my video and stay dressed with it. This one does not have a year, but check out that beard. But it does have a name. So this is George Geigler, and this was out of Tyrone, Pennsylvania. See, I end up on the East Coast. I find things that I don't normally find. Like all these things are coming out of Pennsylvania. This one's out of Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. This is Al Mater. And what I found fascinating is another Lock Haven, same company, Floyd, but it has a different look at the bottom. This is Minnie Driver Mater, and she is the sister-in-law of Al Mater. So these two I'll probably sell together because I would hate to separate the Maters. They're not husband and wife. They are sister-in-law to the guy, but they're both Maters, and I'd hate to see those separate out. So I'll probably keep those together. And then I've got this one from Philadelphia. This one has one of the coolest backs. All printed in with gold accents. And then this one also has a cool back. So this is J.D. Strunk in Reading, Pennsylvania. I have a child. And the back, check out the color. So Strunk is the photographer, Reading, PA. Just some absolutely beautiful aesthetic movement printing. So really 1880s, 1870s, 1880s for something like that. But I've never seen one with a red back. Hey, Dana. So the cabinet cards, these were as a lot. So all of these, and I don't normally, I'm sorry, that was Heather Elizabeth's question. I don't normally carry or deal in these because I know nothing about them. But I couldn't pass them up because of all of the backs. These don't have anything on the back. So there's a couple that don't, but for the ones they were all together, I couldn't pick and choose. With all of these things with the artwork on the back, I would be hesitant. I would be contemplate just propping that up. I think that's prettier than the kid. No offense, kid, but so I need to look up, see what these normally sell for. They all have, I think they're all Pennsylvania. No, the one from Iowa, but the one from Iowa, that did have the cool artwork on the back. So anyway, it's a mixed bag. So those might just end up in my booth if they don't have big ticket values. Maybe they'll end up in a live sale. Does anybody deal with those types of cabinet cards? Let me know what you typically do. This I thought was fun. Got a little packet. Need to research these because I don't know how old they are, but they're also from Pennsylvania. I actually never entered the state of Pennsylvania on this trip, but I guess we've got some migrants or something that came down here. They're all old Poison labels. Now, I think these are just vintage. I don't think they're necessarily antique, but the skull and crossbones on that is just too awesome. He kind of looks like a marshmallow head. I don't even know. That to me does not seem like a scary skull and crossbones. He looks almost comical. But there's a couple different kinds. So this one's carbolic acid, and I have several of those. This was all kind of done in a lot. They were all sold in this little envelope. But then there's also one. So this one says Hills Drug Store. This was in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Ammonia water. So that's got a little bit more serious skull and crossbones. And I agree, Jeannie. I think these would be good for Halloween. I don't think they're not going to be big ticket items at all, but I don't come across these. This was corrosive sublimate USP. So this one, the skull and crossbones, is really, really tiny. So it's the biggest label out of them, but it's the least graphic. And then, unfortunately, this one has a little tear in the corner. But I bought a lot of them in the lot. So, hopefully I can get a few bucks out of each of those. and that would be enough to make my money back. One of the things, and again, as I've kind of drifted into ephemera, one of the things I keep, let me show these first. I'll finish my sentence. I've been drifting into, I love like the old pamphlets and sometimes the sales catalogs and things like that. So I actually got a stack of those. But check out these. And this is, anyone has any suggestions on the age of these, I would appreciate it. I should have not held it up. I should have asked what you think they were, but this one at least has the graphic that makes sense. So this is the Acme, the Hamburg Broom Works from Hamburg, Pennsylvania. It's a broom label. If I believe the label of what I bought them from, this is a broom label. So I'm assuming it would have been shrink wrapped of some sort. And this would have had to have gone on the big part of the whisk part of the broom, because unless the broom handle is really big, I think that would like wrap around itself at least once. So I think this might have been more of the sales label up at the top. They're new old stock. They've never been used. And I actually have several of them. So this one, it has got the crown. I don't know what the 6 means, but it actually has the brooms on it. But this one is also, it says Hamburg Broomworks, but it's the number 6 elk. Okay, I guess that's a style. And the 6 must mean something because Acme had a 6 on it too. So those two both say 6. I mean, I don't know if that means size. I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I bought a broom. This one, super cool. This one has a 7 on it. So right on there, it's a broom. And Blandon Broomworks in Blandon, Pennsylvania. But it's got the big number 7 at the top instead of a 6. But check out that eagle, and he's clasping the brooms. That's just fun. Absolutely, Tim. I might sweep my floors more if I got a crown. Yeah, that might do it. And then there's this one which doesn't have any text on it, so it looks like it was like created blank, and then maybe somebody could print it on there. But it is a sailor. He's holding a broom, but there's nothing in. Look at the little banner at the bottom with those fish. Isn't that awesome? But then I guess maybe that's what would hold the number, maybe the 6 or the 7 or whatever. And then there's the big space at the top. So it's got the same like general layout as something like this. You know, the thing at the top, thing at the bottom. This has a different place for the number, more like the Acme one did. But it's not been printed at all. So this one just says number 936. So I don't know if this was something you bought in bulk, from the broom manufacturer and then printed them locally. I have no idea. I've never seen these before. I just thought these were super cool. So the back, there are like battleships back there. So maybe with the sail, I don't know, my sailor costumes, the uniforms, I don't know, like if this is like World War II, I'm assuming. And that's right, Scott. All of these the colors have just survived absolutely beautifully. And with some of the images, like you may not care about the fact of the broom label, but that eagle is absolutely phenomenal. And then there's probably going to be a good chunk of the population that just wants the sailor, likes either military, likes the Navy, whatever the case, swabbing the deck, whatever sailors do. So those I thought were fun. So I have no idea what I can resell those for. So I'll have to do a little research on those. But okay, so what I started saying before is I got a bunch of like little pamphlets. Some of them are more interesting than others. Grinding wheels, like hardly exciting. Although there's some illustrations in here, some industrial. The company is called Norton, and it's actually embossed in the front, which makes it kind of nice. Now this one is the Worcester, Massachusetts plant, Norton Company. Does this have a year? 6/12/25, 1925. Awesome. So that is from Worcester, Massachusetts, grinding wheels. We've got a Baltimore piece. This is actually almost like kind of like a little tiny newspaper. Trolley News, the United Railways and Electric Company, Baltimore, September 4th, 1909. Going, last call for Parks. And then you open it up. There's Eastern League Baseball. So what's going on at Oriole Park? Actually, that'll probably help sell it because some people are just really into their baseball. Gwynn Oak Park, Bay Shore Park, Riverview Park. I don't know what any of those are, but we're in Baltimore. So Bay Shore Park says there's concerts. Gwynn Oak Park says there's dancing. Riverview Park says Tosca's Royal Artillery Band. And then principal suburbs and suburban towns reached by the lines of the United Railways and Electric Company. So I guess this is like if the train gives you service, and then the first and last cars on a weekday schedule. So it's actually kind of a schedule. So, for the United Railways and Electric Company in Baltimore, trolley news, I think there will be a little subset of people that like those. The Gerber Toy Guide. So this one, I don't know if there's a copyright in here, but it has a single digit zip code. So we're World War II to 1963. So we've got some age on this. Gerber Plastic Company out of St. Louis 3, Missouri. Gerber Toy Guide to help you choose the right toys for your child. So I can't say I knew that Gerber necessarily made toys, but you've got the Jingle Blocks, the Lacing Shoe, Swiss Bells. Oh, that's right. Give a kid a bells. Yeah, that's what every parent wants. The Piggy Wagon, little pull toy with little pigs on it. Puppy Loader, kind of like a dog that's in it, like a little pull toy. The little hammer toys. So some really cool illustrations, and it's in really great shape. So a nice little envelope. And these are one of the things I like about ephemera is they're so easy to ship. Atlas White for beauty and durability. It is a brochure on, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Portland cement, because everyone needs a brochure about Portland cement. But when you've got graphics that look like that, you do need a brochure about Portland cement. So this one is what they are, and Atlas White and Atlas Waterproofed White Portland Cements, what they are and what you can do with them. So this is out of Birmingham. Oh, no, this is multiple. They're primarily out of Chicago, but they have other locations as well. I don't see a copyright year, but based on some of the artwork, like, could we be more deco? Okay, Scott. What year was she introduced? My deco specialist going here. But there's some interiors. Also getting deco. So we're I would say square in the 20s. Floor tile surface with Atlas White are those pictured above. So another interior shot. Cast iron and stucco. So we've got the exterior of a building. Cast iron, cast and man-made stone. So this was actually okay. So the Universal Atlas Cement Company was based in Chicago, but the brochure was a local issue by Fred L. and Johnny Homsher in Strasburg, PA. So absolutely cool little ephemera piece. Beautiful imagery on this next one. So this is Simplicity. This is the cover. Check her out. So she's kind of like in almost a Regency, little Bridgerton era style gown. This is a Kodak brochure, the Eastman Kodak Company. And let's see, does this have a copyright? I do not see a copyright. It talks about the Brownie 1 and the Brownie 2 camera. And I remember looking up that one other time. The Brownie 2 camera was after 1900. There was a number 4 bullet special Kodak. So I'll have to look to see when those different cameras were introduced, but they were still selling the expandable, the pocket, the folding pocket Kodak with those bellows on them. So even when the Brownies were coming out, they still had those style of cameras as well. So this one, I'm surprised it doesn't have an actual copyright. This is Eastman Kodak Company, Rochester, New York. Talks about the Eastman improved rotary shutter. So I think, if you're into photography or like a lot of people collect Kodak, that just seems like a really cool piece. I don't know how common it is. So that's one of the downsides to some of these. I'm still like not willing to take super big riders on any of this because I just don't, I think they're cool, but maybe they're super common and everyone who collects Kodak already has one. So I need to be careful. But I just thought that was a really pretty piece. So this one is when planning a home. This is a GE brochure from 1913. Loving this kind of stuff. So this is, check out the imagery on that one. Little family with their GE lamp, reading the blueprints to plan their home, what they need to do while planning their home. There's that fantastic graphic. The eagle, it wings with the GE, which I'm really sorry when I first saw that. I need to like keep my cheaters with me all at all times because that looked to me like a certain emblem from Germany in the 30s. But it's not. It's the GE logo, and that's something I don't think you'd want to be confused with. So this is electricity and the home builder. Has it long been your cherished ambition, fondly anticipated and struggled for, to build yourself and your family an ideal home of beauty and comfort and convenience? Well, now you've got a little brochure to do it. So it's not really a catalog or anything. It's just like supporting the idea. Use GE to help build your home. Oh, what there? Oh, good eye. I didn't even notice the urn on the mantle. Yeah, that's beautiful. Ma Baker hanging out with the family up on the mantle. Grandfather clock up there. Fantastic stuff. So really cool little piece there. Oh, and I separated them. I had a couple other camera pieces. I'll probably keep them separate because this one is not Kodak. So this was instructions for taking a good picture with your Spartus full view reflex camera. Check him out. So this was a Chicago piece. I really liked this one. It's got the Chicago, it's the Spencer Company on the back. Does it have a copyright? I do not see a copyright. For service, return camera to factory with this guarantee attached and 50 cents in stamps to cover handling and postage. So can't really tell from the imagery what year this would be. So I'd say 20s. The front, not like an Uber Deco design, but does have the vertical lines going up there. So anyway, thought that was a nice little piece. This is another camera one. This one, I think this is Kodak, Velox. Oh yeah, Kodak. So prints by Gaslight. The best print you can get on Velox is the best print you can get. So I don't know. I'm assuming this is older because you're talking about looking at your prints by Gaslight. And you've got the folding camera, number 2. This one's actually a pretty thick little catalog. So let's see, this one, May 1923. So we've got a year on this one. Little cutout that you can sign up for a monthly magazine of Kodakery. Somebody really needs to work on their marketing. How to make better pictures. So it's never been filled in, so you can fill that out. The Kodak self-timer, 1923. They're already selling self-timers. Fantastic. And then inside, it's basically a step-by-step. How to load the camera, what the film looked like. Let's see. Making the exposure. So this is all the brownies would have existed at this time. So maybe this was considered the higher end because brownies were just kind of like point and shoot, the little box. Then you sent the whole box in to get developed. So closing the bed of the camera. So just, we're already at like page 35. Non-curling look for EK Co on the spool end. So I guess they were doing something special with their actual film itself. And then the huckster in me loves this kind of stuff, all the different parts and everything that you can order and the price. Love when they've got the price guides. So May 1923, and you know exactly how much everything cost at that time. And then this is another, wait a minute. Okay, so this had Velox advertising on the back. This is Prince by Gaslight, the Velox book. So this has Velox right on the front. Ooh, check out that logo. Looking mighty deco there too. I would not know that said Velox. I'd be like Love X probably. I would not have come up with that. So this is also a pretty thick little brochure like that other one. So hopefully this is dated too. Ooh, November 1915. We got even older. So this one, the right and wrong paper to use. So promoting the paper idea. So this one, the 1923 one actually says Eastman Kodak Company on the bottom, and the Velox ad has Eastman Kodak Company on the back. This one says the Velox book on the front with the logo, and on the back is the Adams, Meldrum, and Anderson Company of Buffalo, New York. So I don't know. Does it say Kodak anywhere else? I don't know when the Kodak name existed, but I've never heard of Adams, Meldrum, and Anderson. Oh no, so we've got Eastman Kodak on the side. So the Adams Meldrum must have been like the local camera shop or something like that. But check out these old images. Wait, I just lost them. Figure 1 represents a weak, thin, or flat negative. Figure 2 is a negative of strong contrast. This shows the results of printing. So you've got the do's and don'ts of what to do for taking your pictures with exposures based on what kind of image you're going to get when you're done. So it's a fantastic little explanation booklet. 2 other booklets, pretty rough shape, excuse me, but since I am in Colonial Williamsburg and I'm in Virginia, probably Virginia is more relevant because I found these that are Civil War era pieces. So you know what I said about Colonial Williamsburg, just the fact that I'm in Virginia. Now, these are printed in Hagerstown, Maryland. So we are in the land of vintage Vinny, but I'm a little south of there. These are Hagerstown Town and Country Almanacs for the year of our Lord, 1864. And it's still bound. Like, just check that out. It has a string binding and it's still taped over. This is from 1864. So the fact it's so old, we can forgive some of its foxing because the rest of it, all the pages are intact. They're not ripped. The spine is still intact. So you've got an absolutely fantastic image of the eagle on the top and Columbia, you know, overseeing the world. And this would have been printed in the middle of the Civil War. So Hagerstown, Maryland would have been a border state. Technically still part of the Union, but there would definitely be people who would be picking this up on the other side of the river, the other side of the river is in Virginia. So you definitely would be crossing to different, catering to different, very different markets. So we've got January. What month is this for? Almanac 1864. Is it every month? Oh yeah. So on the inside, January, the first month has all of this information. So if you want to know what the fourth Sunday is called, it's a Swepta Gemium, whatever that word. So you've got all of these terms that probably made sense, but when the sun rises, some astrology stuff in there. So for January, then stories about our teeth. They decay, hence unseemly mouths, bad breath, imperfect mastication. Everybody regrets it. What is the cause? I reply, want of cleanliness. A clean tooth never decays. The mouth is a warm place. Particles of meat between the teeth soon decompose. Gums and teeth must suffer. Well, isn't that just pleasant? There you go. Era of the war between the states, or as I grew up, the war of northern oppression. You call it what you will. The necessity of occupation. It is imperative that it is okay. I have no idea what this says, so I may stop speaking in the middle of a sentence. It is imperative, law of nature, that in order for anyone to be happy, they must have some occupation. The mind is so constituted that it requires some object on which its powers may be exercised, and without which it preys upon itself and becomes miserable. A person accustomed to a life of study longs for ease and retirement, and when he has accomplished this purpose, he finds himself wretched. We are acquainted with persons who early life were passed in active business pursuits, and who at the age of 40, having acquired a competence, have retired from business with the intention of passing the remainder of their days at leisure. Okay, that didn't go where I thought it was going to go. Let's see. So we go April, 4th month, education, the moon's phases, chance of having, like, each month has a cool little illustration up in the corner. So to me, this is just super cool as a document of history. I mean, just anything that survives from 1864 is pretty cool. This one, if you really go into it, like every month has these articles, and it may cover stuff that might we not want to hear right now. But again, we're in the North. Nominally, we would be on the Union side. So we'll see. A story with a moral. A young Yankee had formed an attachment for the daughter of a rich old farmer, and after agreeing with the bonny lassie, went to the old farmer to ask his consent. And during the ceremony, which was an awkward one with Jonathan, he whittled away at a stick. The old man watched the movement of the knife, at the same time continuing to talk on the prospects of his future son-in-law, as he supposed, until the stick was dwindled down to naught. He then spoke as follows: "You have fine property, you have steady habits, good enough looking, but you can't have my daughter. Have you made something, no matter what of the stick you just whittled away, you could have had her. As it is, you cannot. Your property will go as the stick did, little by little, until all is gone, and your family reduced to want. I have read your character. You have my answer." Harsh. Hey, Chad. Hey, Angela. Thanks for joining. It's, again, explaining my ensemble. I was at a party earlier tonight. We were supposed to dress as it was 1949. I just decided, since I was already in costume, I was going to go and do a live haul. It's not a sale, just a haul, because I've picked up so much stuff on this trip that if I keep trying to edit videos, if you didn't catch it earlier, I did drop a video earlier of another haul of a French mystery box that I picked up. But this is just kind of going through. So anyway, so I've got the almanac from 1864. And then also from Hagerstown, the almanac from 1867. So we're going to be after the Civil War has ended. And so again, foxing, so some of the paper, unfortunately, but the spine is still there. It's got that string binding covered over. All the pages are intact. They're a little mouse on the edges, but Hagerstown Town and Country Almanac for the year of our Lord 1867, being the 92nd of the independence of the United States and the common year of 365 days, arranged after the system of the German calendar. Let's see. We talk about New Year's Day. It talks about the eclipses that will happen in the year 1867. Neck twisting in church. Fun at home. Those are interesting articles put side by side. Varieties of a bad temper. So these I will be putting up. I'll just see, if there's a lot of these for sale. These will probably end up on eBay. I think I might be able to get more for them out of eBay, but who knows? And then let's see. I've got one little stack over here. Oh, the other thing I've kind of dipped into. This is more for the booth. But I'll have to. Some of these I've discovered. I'm going to have to look up a little bit. I got into postcards, and I don't really want to go deep into postcards because they're not huge dollar amounts, and they don't take up a lot of space, but it's just a lot of fussiness to sell on eBay. So I do have a bunch of postcards in the booth. So we'll see how they sell. But I did come across a couple, and this one, I don't know if Scott's still here. This is from the University of Pennsylvania at the sesquicentennial International Exposition in Philadelphia, sesquicentennial. So that was the 150 year anniversary. So 1776 to 1926. So 150. So just look at the graphics on that. That is just gorgeous. So it's a postcard. It's unmarked, unposted, but obviously it's dated. So from 1926. So that is something I'll probably end up listing on eBay. Unless there's a ton of them, because just obviously we've got some decent age to that one. And this one says it is the Centennial souvenir card of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So we've got, I don't know who all the men are, but you've got 1806 to 1906. You've got a little bit of damage at the bottom. But so this gets into the era, and I covered this in the French video I just posted. So this is from 1906. You can see the postmark on it. If you look on the back, you can see it is an undivided back. So in 1907 was when the post office introduced the concept of the divided back. So with this, before 1907, everything you wrote had to be on the front, and the only thing you could write on the back is the address. So this one, I guess, just got sent without any message because it was postmarked. In 1907, that's when it kind of did that line down the middle with the address on one side and then a blank space on the other, which is like the postcards we have now. So that didn't happen until 1907. And in 1901, they got the legal right to be called postcards. So you can always date when these things were made based on what they look like on the back and what they're called on the back. So in some cases, you might have a postmark of like 1908, but the postcard itself was made in 1906. So it still had the undivided back. So why is, because I'm on a piece of plastic. My mouse is not working. You busted me. Yeah, this is my standard. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Tuesday night dress. You're absolutely correct. I am at the Geneva Antique Market in downtown Geneva is where my booth is. I just have a showcase, but I took the doors off of it. So I have to really focus on small stuff. I have a couple of things I want to sell there because I don't want to have to ship them, and they literally don't fit. I have to move the shelves to make a taller space. I just haven't gotten around to doing that. And hello, Jeannie. Thanks so much for joining. Okay, so those definitely have some age, and probably like back in Chicago, a Centennial Williamsport postcard probably isn't going to sell particularly well. So even with the damage, that one will probably go up online just because I think people in Pennsylvania will be more likely to purchase that. I also picked up the flip side. I found these, which are Chicago postcards. These actually come in a nifty little sleeve. So we've got the Union Stockyards of Chicago. That one's postmarked 1912. We also have Greetings from Chicago. So here we go. So Greetings from Chicago. We've got the Stockyard again. You can see there's a message written on the bottom because the postmark is not legible, but you can see it's the undivided back. So this was postmarked prior to 1907. So we've got that. Cattle Pens, Union Stockyard, Chicago. So that's another one on the bottom. That one is also an undivided back. That one I can make out in 1906 was when that was postmarked. And then this last one is Stockyards of Kansas City, Missouri. So this may go online because, again, Kansas City might sell better on eBay. This one, it's an undivided back, but I can't tell. It's December 14th, 6 p.m., but I don't see a year. And then this one, I'll just get a loop out and see if I can figure that one out. But it's an undivided back, so it's theoretically, it says postcard, so it's after 1901, but it's undivided, so it was printed prior to 1907. So got that. This one, I'm going to do a little bit of research on. The sun never sets on the NYK flag. So I'm assuming the NYK flag is a ship. So that's the NYK line. So it seems like this is an ocean liner card, which I just thought the graphics on that were really cool. Somebody hand wrote a date on it. Like maybe that's when they took the cruise, but they never postmarked it or anything. So, and unfortunately, someone had this in their collection and they wrote that in ink. So 14, I mean, I don't think that's a price. I think that's a item number. So that's annoying. But the card itself is in actually great condition. So I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, and I also, again, I don't, oh, and I had another NYK one. So this one's embossed. So some cool, like their family having breakfast on there. It has something. Let's see if I can do. You can see it here. There's some sort of like a weird wax seal on the corner, and I can't really make it out here either. I'm going to try and figure out how to hold it at a light because there's something in the seal. I just can't. I can't make it out. It looks like a big check mark with maybe a word written above it, but it's not a stamp. So I think it's part of the postcard, and part of the postcard is written in Chinese. So I don't know where the NYK line was. The text is written in English, but it has Chinese on there. So anyway, NYK, I've not heard of that, so I'll have to do a little digging. I did find another Illinois one, souvenir of the police department of Streeter, Illinois. That's nowhere near Angela or me, but I do have cards in my booth that are just Illinois cards, and I think that one's actually pretty cool, and it's embossed. You can tell a little bit better on the back. It's embossed, and it was postmarked 1909. So I thought that was pretty cool. Got into real photo postcards, which again, I'm not particularly knowledgeable on, but they're basically, images. So we go to church. Again, these will probably just end up online because the one is Millmont, Pennsylvania. So if you're from Millmont, you may want that card, but anybody else, who knows? This one, it doesn't say what it is. It's a cool looking church. It was posted in Middleburg, Pennsylvania, and it was shipped to Millmont, Pennsylvania. So shipped to Millmont, Pennsylvania. So maybe the church is in Middleburg. I don't know, but I don't have any of those. This one was part of the lot. I have to figure out what this is because it's like all taped up with very old tape. It had a price of itself for $4, but it was part of a set. So I don't know what I paid for it. It's on a card, but I don't know if it's glued down. So I need to break through all this tape and figure out, because it looks like it's a bunch of military Scotsmen, but instead of wearing kilts, they're wearing the Scottish pants. And then the card is designed to look like it's been folded backwards to show the tartan on the back. So I think it's kind of cool. And it's die cut at the top. So I don't, maybe it's not a postcard. So I have no idea what this is. So I just thought that was kind of cool. This one, yeah, this is just, it's again, part of a lot. This one is a Native American die cut. Unfortunately, there's a little damage to the tree up in the corner. But it's a really, really pretty piece, but it's not a postcard or anything. It's just decorative. Yeah, I'm not going to show this because that, I think it was a part of a package. And I literally, when I was setting it out, I didn't recognize it. I think it would be considered culturally inappropriate in today's age. So we're just going to cut that to the side. I'll figure out what to do with that one. This is another die cut. To Mother with lots of love on your birthday from Louise. It doesn't open, but there's nothing on the back. So it's just like a little die cut. Hey, Karen. Well, thank you. Glad you like the cards. And it's like I said, it's not something I've gone deep into, but some of them are just cool. And so, if they sell, then I'll keep buying them, but I right now, I don't know. This one did not have a date on. I look at the Donald Ferguson cruise voyage into antiquity. It's vintage, but I don't think this is super, super old. Here is a nice old 1914 envelope. Again, this is all part of a packet of papers that I bought. So I don't even know if there's a market for empty envelopes, but it's a pretty cool envelope. Because if you look, the envelope itself is embossed. So there's just a really cool decorative piece to it. And then the old address written in the middle. And it does have the postmark on it. And you can just kind of make it out. It's 19. Looks like it just says 14. So I'm assuming it's 1914. First day issues. I don't know if there's a huge market for these, but this is an older one. This is a Kitty Hawk one from 1932. And a 30th anniversary of U.S. airmail. So this is 1948. So I'm really more used to these from like the 70s and the 80s. Like I don't know. I don't know what I don't even know what those have, if they have any value. This one I really liked. This is the Queen Mary ship. I actually just saw a presentation today. I was talking about one of the curators from Colonial Williamsburg, which for those that missed the very beginning, that's where I am at. I'm at the Antiques Forum at Colonial Williamsburg. It happens to be their 75th anniversary, which means their first one was in 1949. So this banquet tonight was a themed banquet to dress like 1949. They had a costumed interpreter, which is what Williamsburg does, but the guy that normally plays Thomas Jefferson suddenly played the very first curator of Colonial Williamsburg. And he traveled to England after the war to buy a bunch of antiques for the buildings as they were being redone. And he traveled on the Queen Mary and he hated it. So he said it was very impersonal. It was like a New York hotel. And some people liked that, but he didn't. But it's got a picture of Queen Mary in the corner. It does have a postmark on the back, but I can't quite make it out. But it's an undivided back. So prior to 1907, but it's called a postcard. So it's after 1901. So it's in that era. Although it has to be after that, because it says right on here. It says it was launched September 1934. So the card has to be after 1934. That's interesting. It's an undivided back after 1934. Okay, I need to learn more about postcards. All right, these are really rough shape, so I don't know if there's a lot of value to these at all. But Pigeon Cove, Massachusetts. So what is the Antiques Forum? Okay, so the Antiques Forum is hosted by Colonial Williamsburg. This is the 75th year, and it's started on Friday and it ends tomorrow. And it is all day. You basically get presentations and scholarship on antiques. And every year has a slightly different theme. Last year was one I was really interested in, but I couldn't make it work. That one was Virtues and Vice. And it was all about how the devil and angels were incorporated into everything, into furniture design, into wallpaper design, into all these things from basically 18th and early 19th century. They kind of like, obviously Colonial Williamsburg is really more 18th century, but they've expanded a lot of their scholarship. So anyway, so this one had, directors directors and curators of house museums. There was one guy that gave a presentation just about his own house and his collection and restoring it. That was built in like 1732. So like how to restore it and what they had to do for that. And it was just a lot of fun. It's like some of the presentations were better than others. And then you get some free time. So like as part of it, you get a free pass to Colonial Williamsburg, which I've not been to Colonial Williamsburg in probably 10 years. We used to come all the time when I lived out here, and we even traveled here a few times after that and brought my daughter. But I haven't done that in a long time. So the historic district continues to change. Like we got this presentation on the Bray School, which we literally like last week or the week before, it just happened. They moved it from one area outside of the historic district to within the historic district. And it is the oldest school dedicated to teaching African-American children. And they said that the scholarship is going to be really interesting and it's a little complicated because the school was founded in the 18th century. It was founded by I think he was from the North, if I remember right. But anyway, it was founded by a religious person. And his whole theory of developing these schools is to teach African-Americans teaching them to read. Like that was basically the point of the school, to teach them to read and to write, because he felt that the education in reading and writing would work toward an education in Christianity. So he was really kind of pushing Christianity. Well, as part of the teaching, the very first school had 30 students. 28 of them were enslaved. 2 of them were free. And part of the education was to teach in the Christian that in the Christian manner, slavery was the rights of God. So you're teaching these African American students how to read and to write, but you're teaching them that slavery is good, even though 2 of the kids were free. So it's very they said it's going to be very complicated. So they're super excited that they found this. And it was like the story behind it, like the building itself had been added onto it, had actually been moved. It looked like like an 18th or 19th century building, and they didn't think it was. So they had to do all this carbon dating and like all these different things to figure out which part of the building was originally from 1760. So there's stuff like that. So that's the Antiques Forum. And then like buildings that are not normally open to the public, we got to go into them, because there's a couple hundred people here, but it's just our group. So, we got to go through the Rockefeller's home, which is, Bassett Hall. So I posted a video of that, and thank you. Oh, wait, that's not what I was going to say. Popeye's postcards is a good place to start. There's a whole postcard community on it. Crazy. Oh, okay. Excellent. I was going to click on that one. Thank you, Karen. I am trying to make a concerted effort. Like I said, being around all of the scholarship, being around all these experts. I mean, I will put in a video. It's going to take me a while. Hey, Sandy. It's going to take me a while to edit it, because I'm going to have to do some voiceover, because I was filming in the museum, which was totally allowed, but there were other people, so I couldn't really record the way I would want to. There happened to be a piece of furniture called a sugar desk. Okay, so like right off the top of that, anyone know what a sugar desk is? I certainly didn't. I don't think Marie distracted anybody. No, I'm totally cool with that. I just had clicked on the wrong one. I meant to click on this one, and I clicked on that one because I was going to click both. You didn't do anything wrong. So anyway, so I did this video of this sugar desk. I had never heard of this concept. A sugar desk is a piece of furniture. It, as the description showed, or the write-up thing showed, that it was to store quantities of white. There's 2 compartments, one for white sugar and one for brown sugar, and it was lock. It had a lock on it, and this one was a sugar desk because the top of it had a tilt top, and it had the little. I've since learned the term is loper, the little lopers that come out to support the slant front desk when it comes down. The little bars that hold it is called a loper. It has lopers, and then in that or other drawers that you could use. It would have been in the dining room, and it had this beautiful inlay. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And I'd never heard of this before, and I desperately want one. So I'm at the dinner tonight, and it was just randomly sitting down next to different people, just want to meet new people. And I sit down next to this guy, super, super friendly guy. He's from Kentucky. We just happen to be talking about different things. I mentioned that I don't really know much about furniture, but I just was I just went to the museum, and they had, and Williamsburg has multiple museums, but we just went to the museum. They had this beautiful piece called a sugar desk or a sugar chest. And he's like, "Oh yeah, which one?" And so I tell him, I had this beautiful, and I showed him the video. I only took video of like 3 things in detail. Everything else was just like a video of just the room or like of the whole display. But a couple of times, including one for Instagram, I did like a close-up video. So I showed him the video, and he's like, "Oh, that's mine. I donated that to the museum." And he wouldn't tell me what it was worth, but he said you could buy a small house for what he paid for that piece of furniture. Like, okay, I am selling postcards. Like, this is a totally different world. And so that's what I found interesting too. So sugar was locked up and expensive. And so I get that. This thing was the size of what you would think of a secretary desk. It looks like, because of the slant top thing, it looks like a secretary. It just didn't have the big display cabinet on the top. But you just picture like it would be waist height. This thing was massive. I'm like, okay, so it has a lock on it. Why would, like, tea caddies, when tea was first, becoming popular, tea caddies were really small, like the little silver ones and stuff, and the really expensive turned ones. They were really small because tea was so expensive. You only had a little thing. And then as tea got cheaper, tea caddies became really big. He said that it's like kind of the opposite with sugar. because sugar in this piece of furniture is not a sugar chest. It's considered a sugar desk. Sugar desks are only made in Kentucky. He said there's like one or two that got made in Tennessee, but there's still arguments about that. So it's a very Southern thing. It's a very Kentucky thing. And for Kentucky to get sugar was super, super expensive. So it was one of those cases, it became like when people had celery glasses, like all these different things, pineapples and fruit, oranges, you wanted to impress your guests. You had this big piece of furniture that everyone knew would hold sugar, and it was holding like 30 pounds of sugar because you could only get it once a year, once every other year, whenever he said a lot of the travel was done in the flooding season. Okay, I know nothing about that. And so it's like it was super, super valuable. As it became more readily available, the canisters got smaller because you didn't have to buy in like bulk. You didn't have to stock up for a year or two at a time. So he said it had all this inlay. It was absolutely gorgeous. And it was designed to not be in the kitchen. It was designed for the dining room so that all of your guests knew, yep, that's holding all my sugar and look how much sugar I have. Fascinating. I had no idea. So sugar was in cones, I think, earlier than that. So for like, because you have the sugar snipper things, I can't remember what they're called, but like they kind of look like scissors. So that was also a colonial thing. So I think this was basically, I guess, for outside of the industrial area, you got it in just the bigger. So it was, I don't know, maybe it was stacks of cones. We didn't get into that level of detail, but it was basically a way of like purchasing from Costco. You suddenly had like all of this, and it was to show how wealthy you were, because most people would not have a sugar chest, because you would have to not only pay a fortune to get the beautiful piece of furniture, you'd also be paying a fortune every year to fill it. So yes, so yeah, I forgot about the cones, but you're right, I have seen those, and those were still relatively small. So I don't know if it was an era thing, but he said if you look up sugar chests, you'll find them a lot. And those tend to be relatively utilitarian. Sometimes they have locks, sometimes they don't, but they were usually for the kitchen, or the scullery or something, something in the back where none of your guests would see it. So it really just served a purpose. This one, he said, like a sugar chest right now, he said a lot of them are smaller. They're, like spice chests and things. He's like, you can get a decent one for like $1,000. He's like, this one, basically you could have bought a house instead. So it's like, and he even said it, he's like, it's like buying a Honda versus buying a Lamborghini. They're both cars, but you have two very different styles. So I will have that in my video. I don't know how much of that story I'll be able to tell, because I don't, like, since that person actually was responsible for the museum getting it, I'm not sure I should share all that stuff in a public video, but you guys get to hear it. So Southern Virginia. Okay, so you're not far from where I'm at. I mean, as I'm considered like Eastern Virginia, but he said that they were built in, I want to say Lexington, Kentucky. So I think that's more central in the state. So he said that the sugar desks were really specific to Kentucky, and sugar chests were far more common. And pretty much made it. And then you got into like, Virginia's probably look different than Georgia's, which look different than Tennessee's, but the sugar desk is something very specific to Kentucky. And he seemed to know what he was talking about. I showed him like a couple of the pictures and everything. He's like, oh yeah, that's on loan to the museum from our house. Like this, I'm like, and this dude I sat down next to him, and he was like super, obviously ridiculously wealthy. Didn't act it. And I learned so much just sitting next to him during dinner. Like it's just fantastic. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I mean, literally I learned about this like 2 hours ago. So, but it was one of those, cause I was telling him the story, not knowing he was associated with it. And I had gone back, because it's the way I am. I'm like, I want one. So I started looking for them, and I thought it was called a sugar desk, but I couldn't find a sugar desk. I could only find sugar chests. And some of them looked similar. Like some of them even had the slant top, but then when you opened it, it didn't have the, and I also didn't know they were called loapers. I called them rails. He's like, I know they're called loapers. I'm like, okay, learned something else. So the little loapers thing, it was basically just hinge that would drop like, flat against the front, and it was just bins. So it was still the idea that the chests would hold the sugar, so that some of them were the same size, but they didn't have that desk compartment at the top. He didn't really explain why that was specific to Kentucky. Like, why did Kentucky suddenly want them as desks? I have no idea. But that was his scholarship. So anyway, so we're talking about olive sugar. Now we talk about paper, because this is from Pigeon Cove, Massachusetts. The history of the paper house, which I just find very odd. The furniture consists of table, chairs, lamps, settee. Everything's made of paper, including, yes, of all things, the fireplace is made of paper. So I don't quite get the concept of this house. So it's a set of postcards that have this little wrapper, which this was not designed to be mailed. So I'm assuming that this was like the souvenir piece when you visited the House of Paper, a little map to remind you how you got there, I guess, wherever Pigeon Cove, Massachusetts is. And then on the back, they are postcards. They just have images of the house. So unique paper furniture. All right. Again, I didn't buy this specifically. This was part of a set, but I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued. So I'm gonna have to look those up to see if those are like really out there. And then I got several tourist books. So this one, learn my international geography. I don't know if I can. So the Torre del Orologio, Piazza San Marco. That's Venice, Florence. Help me out. Help a guy out. Where is that? I don't know. That is the Plaza San Marco. It's like the folders of postcards, but they're not really postcards. They're just images. There's a canal, so it's got to be Venice. Are those canals? Yeah, we're looking like Venice. Palazzo Ducale, Ponte di Rialto, Bridge of Sighs. Yeah, I think we're in Venice. So I don't know. It's a souvenir fold out of Venice. The pictures are very cool. I will have to look into them and see if any of them have a postmark on them, or see if I can find something online. And they're all in color. But they still seem early, so maybe 30s. So we shall see. So I had that one. This one's in really rough shape, but I really like the front, but it's in the new album of New York. We've got Columbia with the globe. And then this is the same thing. They're like the albums of postcards, but they're not thick. They're more like regular paper, and they're not, so they're not postcards, and they're not printed on the back. But some great age to this. Another one I don't think I saw a copyright on it. So we've got the Brooklyn Bridge, which that was been around for a long time. Normal College. Okay, I've never heard of Normal College. Thank you, Heather Elizabeth. Normal College. The Obelisk of Cleopatra. I have to see when that moved to New York. The Grand Central Depot. I do not remember the Grand Central Depot looking like that. So I'll have to figure out when that stopped looking like that. Was that Penn Station, or where Madison Square Garden got put up? Is that what they tore down? I remember that was like a big deal. Vanderbilt mansions. Okay, those I think got torn down. So some of these I might be able to figure out the age of this just based on the fact if we're talking about the Vanderbilt mansions. I think, like, I don't know, one of them might have turned into the Cartier store. I have no idea. So I have to do a little bit of digging, but the imagery on some of these is just absolutely fantastic. Like the shots of the Brooklyn Bridge, beautiful. So even though the cover is kind of rough on that one, I still think that was part of a set, so it was like no big deal, but I still think there's merit. I'll sell that individually. And then this one is Grant's Memorial Album. So this one has a date to it. So this one says 1885. And to me, these look like they were done about the same time. So if this says 1885, this is probably 1880s, maybe 1890s. And I would say I agree, Karen. I would say these are definitely touristy items. That's like your mementos for your trip. And instead of postcards, which you then theoretically send off, this is something you would keep. And like particularly because this one's actually still in really good shape, like the binding and everything's still in here. This would be something you might set on your end table, a coffee table, like whatever. You would show people when you got back to wherever you came from, saying, "Hey, look, I went to New York," because it's where this, I think, this Grant's tomb is. I went to New York, and this is like, look at all this cool stuff that I see. So inside, there's the image of Grant himself, one of his houses, I guess. There, we also had a house in Illinois. Unfortunately, I didn't realize the insert was actually separated. So the interior of the tomb, who's buried in Grant's tomb. But same idea. Oh, this one's got like a panorama. Check out his funeral. So that's the catafalque, I think is what it's called. It's the same one that Lincoln was put on, basically held the casket. Oh, look, we get to see him in his deathbed. Illustration, obviously, it's not a picture. Deathbed scene, 1885. Grant and family at Mount McGregor. The illustrations on this are actually really cool. The shadowing and stuff on this. Okay, Mrs. Grant's not looking very attractive, but it's almost got like right before World War II, like there was some artists that kind of looked like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And the little album. So I mean, hopefully those will have some value. I don't have huge amounts invested because again, I'm like a little nervous about spending big bucks until I know what I'm doing. But if they were fun enough, I want to do it. I need to look these up. Well, I'll give you what I'm going to do. Heather Elizabeth is still here. So Heather and Elizabeth and I are going to be doing a couple of videos. One of them will be later in March. Sorry, Heather Elizabeth, you've told me like 5 times, and I have it written down. I just don't have it in front of me. But we are going to be talking about trade cards. So I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek at some of what we're going to be talking about. So this is a trade card from the E.B. Orcutt restaurant at 200 Broadway in New York City. So you've got the name of the restaurant right there in the corner. They're basically like graphic versions and larger versions of business cards, but they're like standalone advertising pieces specifically for businesses. So this happens to be promoting a restaurant, and on the back it says they serve breakfast and supper and gives the hours that they do so. So this is one of the trade cards I will be showing. So most of these are going to be like late 19th century, early 20th century. This one I need to do a little bit of looking up because this is from one of the World's Fairs. And I'm going to say it's the 1904. Thank you, Heather Elizabeth. March 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Antique Agenda channel. Later, she and I are going to have we're going to actually have an ephemera sale. That'll be in April on my channel. But for starters, we're going to talk about kind of how they were made, what they were used for. So this one I'm pretty sure is from the 1904 World's Fair in San Francisco, or I'm sorry, in St. Louis. So this one is from Martin V. Chandler, wholesale and retail dealers in boots, shoes, trunks, traveling bags, ladies' satchels, and umbrellas, Market Street, Philadelphia. So it should be easy enough to track. So this is the image of Memorial Hall, and this is the image of Machinery Hall, and this is why I think it's from the St. Louis World's Fair. I think Machinery Hall was at the St. Louis World's Fair, but I could be wrong. I don't think I can look up the 1876 fair in Philadelphia because both of it's the same company, but they're promoting a Philadelphia shop. So maybe these are older than I think. Maybe they're 1870s, 1876, which was the 100-year anniversary of the founding of our country. That was the Philadelphia Exposition in 1876. So they could be that old. So definitely do a little bit of digging on those. So I'll be saving the trade cards for when I do the stuff with her. But then I also have there's variations. So like this maybe Once Upon a Time was a trade card, but it's been cut up. So a lot of times what was happening, people, if you've heard of the Victorian scrapbook albums, they would take trade cards and cut them apart. So a lot of times what the trade card was is no longer complete. So those I'm separating out because these to me, although sometimes they're very attractive, they don't have as much value because they're no longer complete. So these are like Once Upon a Time, I think part of a set because they're all printed the exact same way on the back. They all say that they say about the same thing. Hold it up the right way. Kind of a cool image of a house. It was something about guarantee and indemnity. So some sort of insurance or a bank in Queens. So it'd be nice if that was complete, but it's not. So this one kind of looks like a coaster, but it's just blank on the back and it doesn't even have a business on the front. So some of these I think were just issued as greeting cards, people, things that you could put into a scrapbook. So that's it. That's everything that I walked over here with. So I have a really cool piece of pottery that I picked up, but I don't have anything else within my reach. If you didn't see my video, this will be within reach. I talk about this in my video that just dropped earlier this evening. Before I left, I picked up a package that had been shipped to me. It was a French mystery box, and it had all kinds of really cool ephemera in it. And so this was one of them. It is a newspaper supplement from 1906, and it's in absolutely pristine condition. Like, okay, there's a little bit of roughness on the bottom, but unlike most of these, you can see how big this is. It's never been folded. It's never been creased. So it's amazing that the image on the front and the image on the back, all the damage is just along the edges. So those will look fantastic framed. So I showed that. Showed this. Like I said, I was getting into menus. So I found this menu. It's a cognac virgin menu that I think framed and behind a bar, maybe with your name or a couple's name, or even some drink menu recipes written in there. I just think some of the stuff I just picked up was really cool. This I ended up editing out of the video because the video was so long. So I actually edited this out because I don't know what it is, but it's like a stock certificate. So I don't know if Tim is still here. He was translating my French earlier. This was something that all I could tell, you can tell from the way it's stamped on the back, was there was a payment made multiple years. So the document itself was signed in 1901, but there were payments being made until they stopped in 1939, right around the time the war started. So I just 3%, I figured out a couple of those types of things. So it's a 3% interest. So it's like a savings bond, or I don't know, Leisure Paul Eugene Fernand is who it was issued to. There's a name, something written off on the side that, sorry, the white papers taking up the light. 6/13/58. So I don't know if that's when the guy's birth date was, because at the top it actually says the certificate was issued in December of 1896. I just don't know what it is. These coupons show that they could have been continued to be paid into the 40s, but they were never turned in, probably because of the war. Because Poland invaded. Okay, history lesson, everyone. Germany invaded Poland in 1939 in September, I think. So You can tell with the way they did this, like the August 37 stamp was across multiple times. So like they cashed this in and got 4 payments all at once. And then in February of 39, they cashed it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times and got a bunch all at one time. And then they never cashed it in after February 1939. So it's a very cool piece of history. I just don't know what kind of history it is. So there's a huge thing here on the side that I need to translate. So someday I might try and translate. But it's just, again, a cool piece of history from 1901, and the fact that it stopped during the war, I think that's kind of fascinating. And that's it. So I appreciate everyone hopping on. I kind of debated whether to do it this way, but even just what I showed, if I try to do that as a video, this was rambling enough. But when I try, if I don't have like people to ask questions and pop things up with, I need something to help me anchor it. So, thanks for everyone joining in. So I will have a live sale on Thursday. So that'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern. I will still be traveling. I'll be heading back to Chicago, but I'll stop in a hotel somewhere along the way. And some of the stuff I showed tonight might show up. It kind of just depends on what bag I grab when I come in. Well, thank you. And I know you meant mind. Like I said, this has been a new shift, and it's been because of some of the drop sales that I'm doing with Heather. I started doing $5 ephemera sales, which have been very successful for me. And I get the same comments a lot that it's just, I find the coolest stuff. I don't think I have any better luck than anybody else, but I've gotten to a point where I enjoy it a lot myself. So I just spend the time digging, and a lot of times it is digging because it's just like a bunch of stuff stacked in a box. But like I just spent an hour and a half, whatever long time it's taken to go through this entire stack that will fit in like a 9x12 envelope. Like it doesn't take up any space. So from a organization, I need to figure out how to organize it. I will say I'm already starting to see that as a problem, but it doesn't take up a lot of space. Like I picked up this absolutely beautiful porcelain bowl, absolutely gorgeous. It's signed. I found the artist. I paid up for it, but it's probably worth about 100 or $200. I have dropped it twice. It keeps getting in my way. I have a piece of Blanco that I found along the road, not along the road, on the trip on the way here. Found a piece of Blanco. This is just me being stupid. When I was moving things around, packing things, I have an absolutely gorgeous trunk, which I showed on Instagram. I have all kinds of stuff in the back of my car. The piece of Blanco I had put into a bag with a bunch of other stuff. And then when I got to the hotel and I was taking stuff out, I think I put it in the bag. Actually, I put it in the bag with my hats. So because I brought multiple hats. And so I was like shifting. I didn't need to bring everything inside. I took the bottle out of the bag, set it in the back of the car, went on. Then I went to lunch the next day and turned the corner, and all of a sudden I hear this piece of glass just like, tipping over. I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? Didn't break it, didn't do anything to it. But it's paper just is my friend right now because I seem to have increased my klutziness as I'm getting older. And it's just simple to ship. So it's like, I've sold a couple of nice things on eBay with some pretty nice profits. And I literally shove it in an envelope and I'm done. Like it's super, super simple. So I do like it, and I do like drifting into true antiques. Like, there's a couple things that are probably more of like World War II. If I can get pre-World War I, I'm a very happy camper. But if I can get something that says 18 something, and watch for some other stuff. I actually have a thing I ordered that'll be shipped to me. So once I get that, I found some stuff through a friend. It's a bunch of papers from like 1860s, 1870s. So it's Illinois based, so it's probably not going to have too much about it. Not going to have a lot of personal stuff about the Civil War, but it's of that era. Some of it is in that era, so I'm very curious to read. They're all letters, and I'm fascinated by what these letters are going to say. So like the fact that they're from the 1850s and 60s and 70s, I just can't imagine what kind of stuff's going to be in there. So I get excited about that kind of stuff. And being here in Williamsburg, I'm never going to specialize in 18th century. I live in Illinois. We don't get that stuff. Like Illinois didn't exist in the 18th century as a state. If I wanted to go to Native American artifacts, maybe, but we didn't really come into our own. Chicago wasn't even founded until I think it was 1820s. So we really in Civil War we didn't actually have a lot of action in Illinois. So we just don't have that kind of history. 19th century we do. We just don't have 18th century. If I can slowly shift to that. If I never sell a piece of Pyrex, I will not be sad. Pyrex is fantastic. I grew up with it. I know I can appreciate it. I just don't particularly want to sell it. And there are plenty of people who do. So I'm like, you take that. Let me have this little corner of the ephemera world and try and have some fun. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for sticking around. And like I said, Thursday night, I'll have another live sale. I will have at least 2 more videos that I need to edit. That I recorded in pieces. One is showing I took some detailed videos. Colonial Williamsburg has a dollhouse that was built until like the 1920s or 30s, but it was built at it must have been the 30s because it was decorated with Colonial Williamsburg style, and Williamsburg was basically built up in the 30s. So I have a very detailed video of all of the rooms and close-ups of some of the furniture, and the dollhouse is like 6 feet, literally 6 feet tall. So it's a massive, massive dollhouse, and I was able to get a super close-up video of all that. So I've got that. I stopped at a fantastic antique store on the way here, and I'm going to do a video of that. That's where I got the cool trunk. So I will be posting those out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I don't want it to get too late for when I'm here. But that's, again, why I ended up doing the haul video. So I have not sold all my butter pats. There's still a couple sets on eBay. And then I still have a box, probably of like 100, that's just sitting in the middle of my office mocking me. So, and one of the things that's happening with the ephemera, one, it's easier to photograph. Some of it's harder because it's hard. Like if I have to open it, it becomes hard because I don't want to like rip the page. But you don't get a glare. It's like trying to do anything porcelain. One thing that made me feel better, there was one of the presentations here during Williamsburg was an absolutely fantastically interesting presentation on East Tennessee decorated stoneware, which there was no question that it would exist, but it's not something I was particularly familiar with. And the style that they showed was something I had never seen before. They'd taken photographs of the main piece that they were talking about, and on every picture, there was a gigantic glare of the sock light of how they're taking it. I'm like, okay, if Colonial Williamsburg is taking photographs of something and they're getting glares, I should not feel bad that I'm getting glares. But paper does not glare. So there's many benefits to doing paper. Yes. So I was not familiar with the dollhouse here. I don't remember this for the last time I came, but the art museums here have expanded since the last time I was here. So if people know the dollhouse in Chicago, it's kind of on that scale. It's gigantic. But what's nice is the interior is done in a colonial revival style or trying to be colonial. So just some of the stuff that's in there, like portraits of George Washington, that kind of stuff. It just looks really cool and very fitting for that. And so I have a couple other, it might just be like a group of video. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the rest of it. Because I got some video of other parts of the museum, but I don't really have a way to narrate it. So I'm gonna have to go back, and that's going to take me a long time. So we'll see. I'll have more content, and I am trying to get, again, motivated my business. So I've posted a new video every day since I've been here on my Instagram channel, because everyone's talking about, that you need to feed the algorithm. I'm still trying to list items in eBay while I'm here. Like some of the stuff I brought is specifically, so I listed some postcards earlier. I listed a menu earlier. I haven't got as much listing done as I wanted to, but I'm here for the conference, and the conference, we're pretty much doing stuff all the time. So maybe as on my way home, I can do more, but, I need to be able to post every day on eBay as well. I just need to start motivating myself. And so doing the live haul, or this live haul, I appreciate y'all joining me. I don't know if it'll stay up because I've gotten rambly. It's getting late. And anyway, but I appreciate everyone joining me. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. And as I always say, thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. And I hope to talk to y'all again soon. See y'all. Bye. Bye.